Earlier, we discussed the principle of burying, and we just finished discussing how to brainstorm information for a company-specific cover letter. The You, Me, Us structure pulls these elements together in the cover letter's middle section, the paragraphs that explain why the hiring manager should bring you in for the interview. Here's how. In general, the You, Me, Us paragraph structure presents information about all three parties involved in the job search: the organization, or the You segment, the applicant, or the Me segment, and the organization/applicant working together, the Us segment. But notice how the principle of burying puts information of greatest interest to the hiring manager, that is, information about the company and the work it wants and needs done, in places where the reader's attention is strongest, at the beginning and at the end of the paragraph. Information about you, the candidate, still appears. However, because it's in the middle of the paragraph, it shares the spotlight with the reader rather than dominates it the way most cover letters do. Let's look more closely at what happens in each segment of the You, Me, Us paragraph, namely the topic sentence, the middle sentences, and the closing sentences. The You segment, serving as the topic sentence for the paragraph, focuses on a particular feature or skill the company requests in the advertisement, information that you transcribed in the first column of the brainstorming chart, the You column. It also names the specific proof you have to meet this need. For example, your advertisement notes that you are looking for someone who can write code for portability across platforms, and my background developing client-server applications that have run on Windows, Linux, Android, and iPhone platforms have given me skills I can use to help your division build its mission-critical software. Here's another example. During our conversation, you said that you were most interested in applicants who can oversee several projects simultaneously. My experience managing 7 to 10 client portfolios and industrial angel designs has prepared me for such work. By focusing on a single wish in each topic sentence, rather than listing everything that an organization may want in an applicant, you set up the Me segment of the You, Me, Us structure, in which you highlight some of the training and experiences you have to meet the organization's need. The information for these sentences would come from the second column, or the Me column, of the You, Me, Us brainstorming chart. Although such information typically would come from your resume, it's also possible to include details that are not on your resume, either because they didn't fit or because the information may not be appropriate for all forums in which your resume circulates. For example, someone who's applying for positions in publishing might not indicate a passion for gardening on a resume, but that detail could be appropriate to mention in a cover letter to a gardening magazine who's looking for an editor. Here's one way to leverage your understanding that resumes are industry-specific and cover letters are company-specific. Another way to leverage this understanding concerns space constraints. Because it isn't possible to present all the experience you have with a particular skill, the sentences in your cover letter should focus on the skills, training, projects, positions, and so on that would be of greatest interest to the particular company you're addressing. In doing so, you strategically use the space you do have and demonstrate your awareness of the company's practices and values. The Us segment slide wraps up the paragraph by explaining where and how you might transfer your experiences to help the hiring manager and the larger company meet the specific goals. Drawing upon the information that appears in the third column of your brainstorming chart, The us column. These sentences might note where and how you could apply the training and experiences you acquired in other forums to satisfy one or more of the requirements and responsibilities mentioned in the job announcement. Similarly, you could explain how your experiences have prepared you to contribute to a particular project or effort you learned about through, say, the company's website, or perhaps in conversations you had with the company employees. Or you might note how your experiences can help you uphold company values and ideals, or particular elements of the company's philosophy or mission statement. In essence, this transferability information helps hiring managers envision you working within their company in like-minded ways. To demonstrate how these elements come together within a paragraph and ultimately across the main paragraphs of a cover letter, consider this sample. The paragraph begins with a reference to the company's announcement and one of the qualifications it mentions, before highlighting specific communication skills that may be of greatest use in this position, namely writing and speaking. The following sentences then highlight experiences that most likely appear in the resume and link them to work the reader's company wants and needs done. If the applicant knows that the reader's organization privileges either presentations or written communication, the applicant could narrow the discussion in this paragraph to a single form of communication in the you segment. For example, the topic sentence might read, "Your advertisement notes that candidates should have strong communication abilities, and the work I've done for MirBite has helped me strengthen my writing abilities." The following sentences might then highlight different types of documents the applicant has written, or perhaps different audiences the applicant has addressed, or different modalities or forms the applicant has written for or with. Such choices would depend on what the organization highlights in the job announcement, as well as what the applicant knows about what the organization does, for whom, and how. To see the You, Me, Us segments more clearly, consider the color coding of each section. Here, the blue represents information about the reader's organization. The yellow concerns the applicant, and the green reflects information about the two parties working together toward common goals. Unlike most cover letters circulating in the marketplace, the colors here indicate that all parties are present in this discussion: you, me, and us. We also see the principles of bearing at work. Specifically, we see the information about the applicant, the information in yellow, is present, but it appears in a place that's subordinate to information that matters most to the primary decision maker at this stage of the process, the company. The colors also help us see proportion of information about each player, showing us that the focus and therefore the weight of the discussion is as much, if not slightly more, on things the company values than on the applicant. And if we were to pull back even further, we could see how the setup works across the document. Few hiring managers will dissect application letters to this degree, but most feel the effect of applicant-focused plug-and-chug cover letters. By shifting the focus in ways that genuinely engage the reader, and by explicitly addressing elements that are of greatest interest to the organization, you can suggest that any discussion about the position can be mutually rewarding. So far, we've discussed the types of information that appears in the main paragraphs of an effectively written cover letter. We've also discussed strategies for organizing that information so you can present your skills and abilities and do so in ways that appeal to the people deciding whether to move your application to the next stage of the process. On their own, These two rhetorical moves can help your cover letter stand out from those that dominate the market. But there's one more strategy you can apply to your main paragraphs, one that can help you demonstrate your qualifications for the position. That strategy concerns the relative terms that overwhelm most cover letters.